And we're here.
Welcome, and apologies for the slight hold up there with the technical delays. But here we are once again at the Domain Media Blades in the Dark. Last time, the former members of the Nameless, the crew of Hawkers, found themselves somewhat embroiled with a far more arcane group that introduced them to then they were introduced to an underground grotto, somewhere that seemed to harbour a gathering of those that are in allegiance to something of a higher power. And it is in that underground cave-like construct that we will pick up the pieces of where we were, and what are you all doing? As last time, it was Ankh who, tracing the symbols, seemed to encounter something almost existential.
Well, did I miss the dress code? Everyone seems quite uniform. Well, except for you two. And me.
I'm not one for uniforms in general, really, so it wouldn't have been any use if they issued one.
I don't know. I like a little form sometimes.
It's all kind of I'm not necessarily wearing a uniform either. Kind of just frock coat.
Well, I suppose we should formally acquaint ourselves. You are...
Call me Templar.
Templar. You?
I'm
Okay.
Ankh.
Mm-hmm.
At your service?
And you?
Caroline.
Carol.
And who are you?
I am... Praescio. Pleasure to meet you. So, do we start dancing now? Or something? You mentioned dancing.
My card's empty.
It's as you talk and converse amongst yourselves, you hear slow, considered footsteps echoing down that old, hewn from stone flight of stairs that makes its way down into this deep place. And from the darkness, a figure emerges. At the moment, cast up in almost a silhouette. But you can make out the details of rather flowing garb and the heavily decorated, elaborate hairstyle.
Anybody looking at Cathal now, just his face kind of sinks. He's got that look of, oh, here we go. You kind of rotates his shoulders a little bit as if he's honestly getting ready to fight a bear.
I like to imagine Cathal from before this, at every point we've seen him, has just been a gentle giant, but it's at this point, as this like smaller frame woman walks in, he's like readying up to like, oh.
Well, I see you've already invited half of Dusk.
At least it's the fun half.
I was wondering when you would show your face around here again.
Sooner. No thanks to you. As she steps into the room and the lights from the candles thrown up around her, you see that the elaborate dress and hair are scattered with dust and plaster.
Yes, I heard about the explosions. That seemed rather in character for you now, doesn't it?
Well, I'm just grateful that someone, somewhere, seems to have my interests firmly at heart. Unfortunately, I'm empty-handed.
Is that what we call you?
Oh.
She draws back one of the folds, and you see on her hip the holster and porcelain handle of a gun. If you want, see how that plays out. Cut the act, it's not cute, it's not funny. As she steps further into the room, sits down on one of the seats, sort of leans back on the two back legs and puts her feet up on the table. So, like I say, I'm empty-handed, and I had something of particular use. Some might say necessity. A certain archaic and arcane tome, which I believe is now in Bluecoat possession in lockup.
Where are your manners? You're in
I
front of
left them in
guests.
prison. I left them in prison.
Brought the plaster.
Templar turns to. Well, she doesn't want to do introductions. He gives her one final chance to introduce herself before he does it, so to speak.
Gives you the most insincere smile you have possibly ever seen. Just
He smirks and goes, "You know what? I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. Better left unknown and forgotten. That being said, he pauses and thinks for a moment. What she says is true. If what she True. This might be a lot easier than it might sound.
We're seeing as how I'm somewhat on the lam.
Yes, and our little organization here has always been on, a good foot with the blue coats. You didn't ruin that, did you?
I don't know. One way to find out. Who knows?
Templar.
Now, so this whole time there's been a veneer of just joviality with Ankh, but it slips a little bit, and he looks at I don't know her name, so just the lady sitting in the chair, and says, "Now, me and Caroline are between jobs, and it seems there is an offer here, but we will not work if there is not transparency. Starting with names, I will not keep referring to you as Lady with Pretty Gun. So, let's do this like people. I'm Ankh. You are."
Oh, but it has such a ring to it. Call me Rebecca.
Rebecca. Rebecca it is. Have we or have we not encountered trouble with the Bluecoats? Because that will impact my decisions.
I have. But, like, my eyes shoot sideways towards Templar. As associate states. On a larger scale, there's an understanding at least with one Captain Beaumont. While you're in Brightstone, things can be negotiated, leveraged, discussed.
The veneer comes back up and he's like, "Oh, that's great then. Carry on."
Like I say, my possessions were bereft of me, and something that we were rather reliant on now resides with the Bluecoats. We have something here, the beginnings of something beyond the vaster majority, those that stumble along day to day, wishing for something more. We are on the cusp of that. And consider this an initiation of sorts. Recover that, and maybe you, looks around to all three of you, can join us in a future. Something greater.
Templar.
Where?
I'm in.
Oh, yeah. We all wait so long. Where? Is it just at a precinct somewhere? Is it stored up in some evidence locker? Do you know? Or are we just supposed to search every Bluecoat building within Dustfall?
I can't say for certain, but an educated guess would likely put it in Charterhall. At the least at the headquarters, the main storage for evidence and seizures.
Is this thing anything they would want to protect and keep out of anybody's hands?
Unless you really know what you're doing, I suggest you and anyone else stay well away from it. And she indicates one of those that have kind of entered in and are loitering around near that gap in the wall that leads out, and there's that arid scent of the Deathlands and the slight warm, almost uncomfortable heat that seeps in. It's you. Show them your face. Show them what happens when you look into that without any prior experience. And as this figure turns round, you see that the mouth has cracked around the sides, up into the cheeks, almost like lacerations. And as the figure opens their mouth, you see that the teeth are broken, chipped, rotten. And there seems to be blisters and pustules on their tongue. Read from something you don't understand. And that's the result.
Okay, we misunderstood each other. No need for that kind of threats. I was just asking if the Blue Coats would protect it. I don't want to open whatever it is. Just know what kind of protection you think that would be around it. I could maybe judge the difficulty of the task.
I'd say that while it's in storage, they probably keep well away from it. You'll know when you found it. Dizziness, nausea, headaches.
And do the Blue Coats know its significance? Or could we maybe negotiate some sort of, not with the Blue Coats as a whole, of course, but someone inside?
I will
Bit of a
leave that to
favor
you.
for a favor?
I'll leave that to your discretion.
If we take this on directly, the most obvious method, taking it directly from Chart Hall, it would need to be absolutely silent. However, there is that working relationship with Captain Beaumont that I mentioned. We could see if they could arrange something at the Charter Hall.
If we do end up taking a more subterfuge approach, I can perhaps help with the getaway, as like just demonstrates part of my arm going slightly like insubstantial and smoky for a second. I can get away unscathed if we can get in relatively.
Good to know. The rest I will leave up to you. Oh, and Templar, if you ever bring anyone else here on a whim, I will castrate you and feed your friend to the hagfish. I promise.
I'd love to see you try.
She stands up and makes her way out without another word.
A gracious one, that one.
Mm,
You hear Templar mutter stuff underneath his breath. It doesn't seem coherent. And he kind of turns to the rest of you. She is the other half.
You don't make a great
your other
fool.
half? Are you married?
No. God,
Because
no.
if you were, I am so sorry.
At this point, Templar actually kind of wraps his arm around his stomach because he is actually somewhat uncontrollably laughing. He goes, I would have already done what she said if that was the case. No.
Oh, you do bicker like a married couple, but I didn't assume. Oh, Lord.
No, not even remotely. He kind of blinks. You will come to know what I mean in the future. It's not something I can put into words and have it make sense. Now, that being said, I am personally on the side of going and speaking with Bowmore. Keeps us in the clear. Make sure everything's above board, at least on our end. It doesn't look like we're doing anything specifically to hurt our relation.
Ankh looks around at like the damp and kind of dingy place we're in. He's like, yes, I don't believe it's a good idea to antagonize the authorities at this point in time, being so new an organization.
Uh-huh.
Do you know this Bowmore personally? Any past history there? Or are we going in fresh?
There was an agreement made. Just phrase it like that. Oh. I don't know the full details. But, something to do with another organization known as something Echoes. One of their members was thrown into lockup. They had a map leading to this location. Location's a little bit off the path. And Bowmore and I came to an arrangement for exchange of that map and breathing room.
So, out of character, Robin, didn't your character want to join the Path of Echoes?
Yeah, and I'm rejoicing because they flopped.
Is there any reaction from your character at this?
Yeah, she's smiling but keeping herself.
Okay.
She wants to
Just
laugh at
wondering if
their face.
just a little chuckle.
Yeah. So, if this map is what they used, what's the insurance that it will succeed when we use it?
Oh, I mean, the map was to this location, this specific location I stand in right now. And the usual question that follows whenever I get onto this subject is, well, then what stops the Path of Echoes from just combing shoreside? Well, that's part of the with the blue codes. They usually get brought up on something absolutely inane. You're walking too quickly with your left foot. I don't like it. Taken into back alley and...
Sure.
So we're currently a kind of whistleblower for the Bluecoats in case any Echoes people show up.
Oh no, we don't have to report it. They find them on their own.
What are we doing here then? Why was the map given to us?
The deal I worked out with Bowmore.
Okay.
This place has significance, as I'm sure you very well found out.
So all they care about is that the Echoes aren't here.
Yes, I
Fair enough.
don't know Bowmore's
Motivation?
or desire to harm the... That's hers.
Oh. People hate people for all sorts of things. Anyways, we should probably go and talk to them. I don't think anyone else... is there any objections to the diplomatic route?
No. I prefer diplomatic. If that
Wonderful.
fails, we're ready for your arm thing.
I'd rather you not refer to it like that. Yes. I think everything's good.
What do we...
He kind of looks down at his arm and is kind of self-conscious about it. I'm sorry, you go. He's like, I thought it looked cool.
You depart and head into the district of Brightstone. As it stands, you make your way south to where Bowmore and a few chosen associates likely spend other, now what has moved on into the early morning, as they, preferring the comfort of the Centralia Club to the formality of the district precinct. And of all of you, it's probably Praescio who is most familiar with the rather exclusive members club that is Centralia. And stepping outside, a large flight of steps lead up to a pillared building, the top of which stands a very formal-looking concierge in top hat and tailcoat. And as you make your way closer, silently bows his head and opens the door, allowing you to enter. Inside is, fair to say, rather luxurious, and the floor itself very, very plush carpeting, walls panelled with highly polished and well-maintained wooden paneling, and behind the main welcome desk stands a similarly dressed figure to the concierge on the door, who greets you all, kind of casting an eye over you. Might I help you?
Yes.
And this is where we were told to meet Bowmore? Or
This
is this where we're going to find...
This is likely herself and her chosen captains for the district. Of basically, they're having that morning tete-a-tete in comfort,
so we're...
rather than like in the formality of the precinct.
So we're currently looking at Bowmore, and I thought we were talking to the concierge at the welcome desk. I think I missed a sentence.
Yes. So yes, you are. Bowmore is likely in the Centralia Club itself.
Okay, so we're talking to the concierge. Got it.
Yes.
How do you say it? Bowmore.
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 Got it.
Yes, I do believe we're here to meet someone to discuss business. Hopefully not heavy business, but I'm not the decider of that, am I? Is Bowmore here?
Might I inquire who you are? And is Commander Bowmore, I assume, expecting you all?
Why, yes, of course. And I look over to Cathal, right?
Templar.
I don't know how you would know that name.
Templar.
Templar.
Well, I'm not saying the name.
Yeah, but yes.
I look over to the person who has the birth name Cathal that I do not know.
That was my
and
reveal.
I gesture. Yeah, I'm sorry. You already said it earlier.
Did I? I've said
Yeah.
Out of character, yeah. You didn't
Okay.
introduce
I did.
yourself, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Did we?
And I just gesture because I assume the only person that Bowmore would even remotely know is you.
Yes. And a wry smile comes across his face. Tell Bowmore that Templar is here with information regarding Rebecca.
He turns around and slides up a smaller, thinner panel, which behind it has a brass-paneled voice piece built into it, and he sort of rings a little bell beside it. If you could be so kind as to inform Commander Bowmore that she has guests waiting for her in the foyer. Thank you. Slides the panel back down, turns around and produces an enormous ledger, flips it up onto the counter and opens it up, flicks over a couple of pages to where it is, hands you an ornate gold-plated pen, and if you would be so kind as to all sign in. And on there it says name, time of arrival, and who you are visiting.
Is this the grand reveal? Is it time for the mask to be shed? For the mighty truth to be told?
It's time
Who
for
is this man of mystery?
No. It's time for this part of it. Yep. Okay. So I guess Templar here would go ahead and sign his name. Whoever's next up would obviously. Everybody would get to see the name that is written down.
What name?
First.
Yeah.
He does
Are you
write
going
it.
to put your actual name?
Yes, he actually does. So on that page is written in, I don't want to say ornate handwriting, but it's decent handwriting. Cathal
Legible.
Thallo the Fifth. And yes, his last name is spelled Tallfallow.
Oh, I thought it was the 5th.
The fifth just
F-A?
means Tallfallow.
Okay, I was looking at it in Roll20 and it said FE. That's why I was confused.
Yeah.
Oh, that is weird because that's not what I have entered on the actual sheet. Oh, I can
So I
fix
looked
that.
at it, I'm like, a tall fellow. Oh, how
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Well,
How characteristic.
How sweet. He's just a big guy.
Just say what you say.
Yeah.
Cool.
My tall fellow.
Everyone else, are you giving your names or are you going under a pseudonym?
Sure, I'll write my name.
So the next name, Arasi Cordera. Who's next?
I go next, and
Oh, okay.
I write Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yes, Caroline.
No, you already grabbed it.
Yeah, Caroline writes her name. Not very well. She's not very good at writing. And holding the pen is kind of hard for her.
And Ankh, finally.
Yes, he goes up to the table, picks up the quill, and he writes in big flowing script, Sebastian Tanevistrand. Completely not his name, just something he made up about 10 seconds ago, and he thinks it sounds cool. And he does a little flourish at the end, and he just dot, and he sets it down very gently, and he just...
And the concierge nods and takes the book away and places it back under the counter and indicates for you to into a main atrium meeting room. The entire club going up is over several floors and gives way to private rooms and dining rooms and games rooms and all manner of different locations. But it's a few moments while you take in the surrounds. Unlikely less so for Praescio, who I'm assuming probably not your first time being here.
Yeah, absolutely not. I've been here a couple times. Window shopping.
While this main area, a few people sit around, mostly in the window seats, reading newspapers. The morning cup of tea kind of sat on this very small table next to them, and the whole room is made up of these very kind of intimate, despite the room being very large, is kind of broken up into very intimate little quarters, where there's a few high-backed armchairs that sit around a table looking in towards one another. While you wait, it's a few moments later where a door opens at the other end of the room, and the much more heavily decorated uniformed Bowmore steps in, officer's hat tucked under one arm. But rather than the usual brass badge of the blue coats, this one has got epaulets on the shoulders, the couple of medals pinned to the breast, over the breast pocket. And as she looks over to you, there's a moment of recognition and a nod as she covers the room towards you, Templar. And goes through the somewhat formal introductory process. We'll cover over that. I assume that this isn't a social call.
No. Fortune. Obviously, I wouldn't come here unless I had a very specific reason. My reason here is oof. I'm sure you've heard what has happened. Where was it? Oh yes, Six Towers Precinct.
I heard. Perhaps best if we speak in private. She looks towards the window seats, especially as one of the figures kind of rather uncomfortably rustles the newspaper before turning a page, leads you out, checks into a room. This will do. It steps inside.
I follow.
And are you all going together, or do you want to?
Do we come in with you, Templar?
That's fine. He's not gonna stop you. I doubt she would stop you.
As you all step in, you see an, as of the moment, unused games room. Large billiards table sits in the center, illuminated from above by lights, and meticulously maintained. The green baize covering looks almost newly applied. As she picks up the cue ball and begins, as she talks, rolls it up the table and bounces it off the cushioning. So,
Well, I can't say for certain, but this visit is twofold. First one of the escaped prisoners has shown their face again. You should know which one I'm referring to.
of course.
They did, so they are in the area of our mutual place that you have given up. They stopped by. That being said, however, when they were arrested, they did have a certain object on their person that we do require.
You know as well as I do that nothing is free in this world.
Absolutely.
You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I can get it checked out. For whatever reason. However, something else I might need a little bit of help with. A somewhat misguided soul, I think it's fair to say. And someone who is looking into a couple of my deputies. Believes they've got leverage. Possibly dirt. I don't want to play to that kind of chance. Said secrets are due to go on the market somewhere in the docks. And I would prefer that these things remain entirely secret. Whatever documentation there is, to be alleviated from this purveyor, and, or, if you feel a little bit more emboldened, let's say, deal with them as well. However, I can only protect you from the legal ramifications. I can't do anything about the wardens.
Templar looks at everybody else to see if they have their thoughts and opinions.
Must be pretty damn information they have.
Was a name mentioned at all in that, or just a individual?
It was just an individual. This is, especially known to Templar, this is standard for Bowmore. You don't get information until it's agreed.
Until we agree to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then she'll tell you what she knows.
And currently, we're just trying to make sure that this individual doesn't blab about whatever shady shit her officers have probably been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pretty standard blue coat thing.
Right.
We're not breaking ground here.
No. I mean, we could pretty easily do this non-lethally if that's the goal. So Orland does not have any objections.
Neither do I.
All right. Well, Templar outstretches a hand.
She gives it a surprisingly violent grip and just kind of one shake, and it kind of indicates several seats in the corner for you to sit down. And so, The information I have is that the supposed seller is one who calls himself the Toymaker. Obviously an alias adopted for such purpose, and I'm sure that said Toymaker will disappear as soon as they emerged, once this transaction has been completed. Now, I have a couple of leads, and like I say, the docks. In the south of the district, in Bunkhouse Row, one of the more questionable places of more questionable repute, and quite popular, I believe, for the hawking of stolen goods, mainly bought in by the Foghounds. It's not my jurisdiction. What goes on there is not my concern. However, like I say, this toy maker has the information they are selling, namely supposed dirt on Captains Haig and Captain Slane and Captain Traker. Well, those are officers directly under my command, and I'm sure Cleland will jump on it given the first opportunity. Phelan, in return for this, you help me out as I check out some evidence, or have evidence checked out on behalf of you. And then, well, when it goes missing, that was on Cleland's watch. Who looks bad then?
I kind of like try to get her attention, and I ask, do you know if the toy maker is affiliated with the Foghounds, or is he probably using the bunkhouse, the building on Bunkhouse Row to for this auction of sorts? I assume that is what it is, right? Selling this.
It's absolutely. The toy maker was an alias that emerged purely seemingly for the sale of this information.
So there's okay. So it's not in a known quantity we're dealing with. It's someone new.
Absolutely. Unlikely they're new. They seem to know the game. Possibly a well-acquainted figure of sorts, but a pseudonym taken on for the sole purpose of selling information.
Acquaint.
There could be someone who's been around, but adopts new names.
Absolutely.
Well, any chance? Do you know who we could talk to that deals with that district? Maybe we could convince them to crack down a bit on this place in particular, where they most obviously do deal with ill-gotten gains, contraband against His Majesty the Emperor. Can't let that stand, especially on this particular day where secrets are being shared.
Oh, your innocence is enviable. Bluecoats there will be on Foghound payroll. Turn a blind eye. I would say you'd need to double, if not triple, what's being offered. It's certainly an option, though. Not that I'm saying don't try, I'm just saying be aware that you are going to be aware of the cost, yes.
Ah.
I am somewhat interested in this toy maker. Obviously, since the name gets switched around every so often, it leads me to believe that this is something that they are used to doing. They are smart. And then I kind of look over towards Bowmore. Have there been any other squeals about any of your other captains? Reason I ask is people that tend to do this tend to have a specified target because they have a reliable access to that information, which leads me to think there's a mole.
Not from mine. And while Haig, Slane, and Traker are questionable in their ethical values, that's not to deny that they are not good captains. There have been others. Most of them go unregarded. I don't know how familiar you are with the Crow's Foot 4, for example. 4 officers that make it their interest to run a little side scan. It's common knowledge, especially to those residents of Crowsfoot. When this information came to light, I realized roughly nothing was done about it. However, that is because, partly, due to the influence of Pleland. My jurisdiction only extends as far as Brightstone. Anything out there falls into the remit of Pleland, and as a result, he can make certain stories disappear whenever he wishes. Especially when it concerns beat officers rather than captains.
So does Pleland control the docks, or everything else?
The dogs have their own commander, but Cleland is the commander of the City Watch.
Ah.
Meaning that technically he is my superior, however he tends to leave me to my own devices and I leave him to his, and that such an arrangement suits us both wonderfully.
So...
I'm gonna ask her if she knows like what types of contraband the Foghounds deal out of here. Is it mostly like drugs, illicit substances, or is it just like run of the mill like stolen stolen silverware and like here's a fine candlestick?
Oh no, the Foghounds are smugglers, so it's usually things that are brought in that are controlled or are usually subject to heavy levies. So you can actually get quite a lot of fine quality goods from them. Aruvian brandies being incredibly popular. Occasionally something that's a bit more off the books. So it might be a prestige rifle, say, that was used during the Unification Wars by one of the Scotland generals, which now has historic value as well as being something that's probably still functioning. So, but like to coin a phrase, it belongs in a museum.
But so it's not like a drug den or anything. It's a little bit higher class. Like their clients are normally people who buying like some of the finer things in life.
You're buying a premium Aruvian brandy at half of the cost that you would pay off the shelf. Yeah, because they bought it in and haven't paid any of the taxes on it. So
got it.
Most. Yeah, and it's most.
I could see why the Bluecoats wouldn't want to crack down on that, huh?
Yeah. You get good stuff. It's so a lot of Leviathan hunter crews do have Foghounds on them. However, nobody knows quite who the Foghounds are. So the Leviathan hunter ship will come back in. Everyone disembarks. They go off their separate ways. Some of them will disappear into the inner workings of the docks with a duffel bag full of stuff.
Yeah, we're a little low on electroplasm, but Greg's over there and he has a full pack. It's so weird.
So, I believe that's all we need. Looks over at the pale lady to make sure that she doesn't need anything.
I think I've got everything I need.
I do assume you don't care what happens to Bunkhouse Row. In a general sense.
And as she picks up her hat from the billiards table,
Unofficially, of course.
accidents happen.
We'll endeavor
And as
not to go
always,
too
and as always, and looks towards Templar and the rest of you for the first time. This meeting never happened.
Of course.
What meaning?
Simple enough. I'm assuming Bowmore's left at this point.
She's out. Yeah, the door swings shut behind her.
Simple enough. Now, we've all just met. I feel like this is the moment where everybody begins to discuss what we're actually good at. I don't believe that we will mesh very well as a team unless we know what each other can do. And I feel like I'm a bit more honest than the three of you. And he kind of, he kind of flexes his shoulders and gestures out wide and just goes, "What you see here is what you get."
Moreland decides to go next, and he gestures down at his spirit mask, the jackal, as currently clanking on his hip. He's, I am more attuned to the arcane side of things. I'll be able to know when there is something supernatural. I'll be able to hopefully talk it down when it does come. If worse comes to worse, I can probably help out with it a little bit. But preferably we could come to some sort of more amicable solution. Oh, and lastly, I am even more attuned to the ghost field than most. I'm able to shift into it partially, and it allows me a couple of privileges. Flying's not really as great as it's cracked up to be.
Oh, that hand thing that you did earlier.
Yes, the hand thing.
The hand.
It's more than a hand thing, but yes, the hand thing. I can do the whole thing, actually. All of the thing.
Oh.
Don't patronize me. No, I can... Wow. I can turn invisible. Okay, so out of character. Does insubstantial, what does that mean in game terms? Because it's not strictly incorporeal, so I assume I can't go through walls. But does that just make me harder to see, or would that make me like more resistant to bullets? I tried to like Google it, and it's substantial. It's kind of wishy-washy. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so
up to
for
you.
the sake of this, let's have a look at
This is the ability,
yes.
by the way.
So I mean, it's because it's quite hefty. I would say that it's one of those things you could probably use it as a resistance against bullets or anything like that. At the same time, of course, if you're sneaking around, that's going to help. So I'd say if you can argue a case for it, then it's acceptable for you to use it. But bear in mind there is that stress cost every time.
Yeah. So if it's currently going on, if I'm like trying to sneak somewhere, it's currently going on, I use 3 stress to make it last for a few minutes, and someone shoots at me, would I just automatically resist that? Or would I have to do it again?
Yeah, it would probably be no, you wouldn't have to do it again. It might be I might be doing another roll, but with a greater effect, that kind of So it will always give, or a bonus die. It will always give you that additional effect as long as it's active. But
Got it.
obviously,
You didn't want to just say, and I'm bulletproof, and then just like go into a gunfight, get like gunned down and dead within like 2 seconds. Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, no problem.
Then I explained, and I am damage resistant when I'm in this state. It is very taxing, however, I can't keep it up forever, so it's best used in special cases.
So, long story short, you're a whisper.
I thought we wanted more. Yes, I'm a whisper, alright? I thought the spirit mask communicated that well enough. I thought we wanted details, people, details.
I mean...
I turned to Praescio. What about you? What can you do?
Attempt at my
Stop
name.
talking about me.
Yeah. Well, you seem very handy.
Thank you.
I'm good at making friends and coaxing out information out of said friends, and just putting things together in general. Yeah, I'm not really magic or strong. Just
Thanks. Well, having friends is always great. So very happy to have you on the team. Can't wait to watch what situations you're gonna have to get us out of. I am so sorry in advance. And
Yeah.
and Caroline?
Yeah. You can say I'm good at making friends too, but only dead ones. And
oh,
no, too soon. Too soon. You don't need to know that. But yeah, friends. If I happen to have one around, I can ask for a favor, and they'll give us a hand, if you say.
a hand. Lots of hands going on.
I gotta say, that's the most wholesome way I've heard Compel described ever, and I love it. The ability says, you tell a ghost what to do, and you're like, I asked for a favor, and they say yes. Yay.
As you depart from the Centralia Club, heading off into the early morning mist as the fog rolls in from North Hook Channel, you go your separate ways.
You have just finished listening to this week's episode of Blades in the Dark, What Happens in the Dusk, part of the Domain Gaming, written and told by Livespark and Wyverian. A special thanks to you, the listener, and if you wish to continue supporting us, subscribe, like, and share. As always, comments are welcome. Until the next chapter, to those without direction, follow the lights in the quiet darkness and listen to the silent whisper.